Welcome to Gulfstream Park West. Welcome to the Gulfstream Park West Handicapping Show. Ron Nicoletti along with Pete ILO. And Thursday we got a 9-race card we're going to show. We got a fast main track, firm turf course. Pete, some good races yesterday. Should be a fun day today.
Yeah, formful races yesterday. The late pick 5 only good for $88 and change, but certainly some good value along the way, including Wildcat Kitten, who won the opener yesterday and puzzled you.
Puzzled me, and he would not let me forget that because I did not pick that one, and he had it on his daily double ticket and did very well. And, you know, Pete, this weekend, you know, of course, we got the Breeders' Cup that you can watch and wager on over at Gulfstream Park, but we also have something really exciting happening here on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon is going to be Claiming Crown Preview Day. Of course, the Claiming Crown is also the opening day of the 2016-17 Champions meeting at Gulfstream Park. Over $440,000 up for grabs on Sunday. We'll have 11 starter allowance races. Pretty much every division you could possibly think of will be going to post on Sunday afternoon. For me, that's great news because that means that hard-knocking campaigners like Papa Pig and Cheech Thunder will be in the entry box. Should be a great day of wagering opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm expecting full fields when you see that $440,000 in purses. Hard to keep these hard-knocking campaigners on the sidelines when you're offering those kind of purses. So it should be a real fun day. Today, as I mentioned, 9 races, so let's go through the wagering menu. We start today with the rolling super high five each and every race with 7 runners or more. And also, Pete, you're going to have your early pick 5 ticket today.
Yeah, early pick 5 ticket. I missed it yesterday by 1 race. We'll try to do a little bit better here today.
Yeah, see if you can get into Rainbow 6. As you mentioned, it was a pretty formful day. There were like 161 tickets alive going into the final race with the 6 out of 6, but no singles. So we got a little over $6,000 in that pool, and we end the day with our final pick 5 of the afternoon, the last 5 races, and always a great wager because it's only 50 cents.
Indeed, and like I said, it paid formful yesterday, but that doesn't mean that today won't be more of what we've been used to at this meeting, which is some big price winners.
Yeah, we've had some really nice price winners throughout the day. You see there was something come up and paid in $80 or $90 or something like that. So let's go into this card. First race, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is fillies and mares, 3 and up, non-winners of 2 in life, $16,000. Pete, we got a scratcher, the main track only, number 8, First Punch. Interested to see your ticket.
Well, we'll take a look at it now. I'm very top-heavy. I think the first 2 races not only are competitive races, but are races where you can get some horses that may pay something to win. I'm 5 deep in the opener. I'm not getting knocked out here. I'll use 3, Mexicana at a big price. She was in a nice winner against Maidens last time out. She takes a major step up. The 4, Vow Me Over, coming in from New Jersey. I just couldn't leave her off. The 5 is both of our top plays in the race. Yes, Miss Ada. 6, Fazzle Dazzle, had a ton of trouble last time out. And 7, Sweet Elegance, likely to go favored. 4 deep in the second, should have that race covered as well. Easy's Mistress, Boxing Betty, Yono Fue, and That's a Myth. We're 3 deep in the third. I'd like to be deeper, just couldn't afford it. 1, Miss Kitka. 2, High Sweet Candy. And New York Invader. 4, It's the Money. Solid singles in race 4 on number 5, Sonic Mule. Speaking candidly, he should win. And then the 5th race, I had to single because I wanted to keep it affordable. I would go 2 deep in the race, but I singled instead on the major class dropper, Telling Tony. He's had some tough trips in his last 2 races. I think he needs to drop in class, but I'm not as concerned as I would be normally.
You're leaving Gelfenstein off that ticket.
Well, that would be who I would want to add. I would want to, you know, that's one of the things. I left it as kind of a shell ticket. Go ahead and add. The solid singles in the 4th. Don't move anything there. But if you want to add some horses around or move some horses around, I think the bookend races are the races to do that, the 1st and the 5th.
Yeah, I mean, those are logical singles there. I'm actually trying to beat a horse in the race before the Gelfenstein race, but we'll tell you about that with Arrecif. So let's go to race number 1. I went with the 5, Yes, Miss Ada. This one's dropping to the 16 level, turning back to 7.5 today. Stalked the pace, came up empty, was a 30 condition claimer going a mile into 16. Steve Caceres, Matt Rispoli. I just thought, handling that class drop. And I thought on the class drop, this was the one to beat in the opener. I'm looking at the board very early in the wagering at 8-5 up there.
Yeah, I actually agreed with you. She is a horse that, to me, she needs to show some more speed. She's kind of been precariously placed in her 2-turn races. She was off the pace in both of them. I don't know why you want to do that. I think that she has enough natural speed to stay close in tow. I mean, she broke her maiden at 7.5 over the turf, but she did that from a stalking roll. So, well, so should be the class drop should mean something to her. And a horse like Sweet Elegance always runs well, but never seems to get there. That's a good scenario if you like the 5.
Yeah, I mean, beaten favorite, talking about Sweet Elegance in 4 consecutive races, always seems to find some trouble. And ran into Fazzle Dazzle last time out. And I want to show you this last race of those two going into the first turn. And there they really got bopped around. And I believe that, when you see the replay, that Fazzle Dazzle got the worst of it. So we'll show you that here as it pops up. And there you see it right now. They're going into the first turn. And there you see the horse just, the number
Fazzle Dazzle
was the 5 in that race.
Yep.
The 4 knocks out the 5. The 4 was Sweet Elegance. So just that trouble there, and I just wanted to show you. So we'll see how that race plays out this afternoon. And I went with Sweet Elegance, but too many questions for me. Beaten favorite 4 things. That's 4 starts in a row. I went with the 5. Yes, Miss Da.
Yeah, and the 6 Fazzle Dazzle makes both of our tickets. I think we'd be delighted to get the current price, but that's likely not going to happen here. She's 7-2 on the morning line. She's making her first start in the barn of Fernando Abreu, who's taken over some pretty good stock lately. 3rd start of the form cycle, had trouble last time out. That last race was kind of an anomaly, I think. The winner, Great Euphrates, went gate to wire, but nobody made any impression on her at all. So it makes me wonder if that race from a flow standpoint isn't a throwout.
Well, let's go to race number 2 this afternoon, and this one is a 6-furlong maiden claim of fillies, 2-year-olds, $25,000. Scratched the 3 in here, and that is Wildcat Wave. I went with the number 5. Pete, you went with the number 5 in here. Did you
No,
know that
I did not.
Flipped over? I went with the 5, Faith and Hope, looking to make amends after returning from a 2-month layoff to dispute swift early fractions. 21-4, 44-4 before weakening to finish 4th. Was the 4-5 favorite, going 6 furlongs. They were going quick early on last race.
Yeah, but they came home slow. They came home in 12-1, which is the reason that I settled for the 7 on top. That's a Myth. That's a Myth got shelled last time out, but she chased a equally fast pace, but they came home much better, 10-3. That's a 1.5-second difference, which is certainly understand why the 7 backed up in her last race. I think that from a race quality standpoint, 7X is a much better race. We liked her a little bit in their last race. She took too much money, though, and now she's back to reality in a level that she ran well in her debut.
Well, the one horse who actually Easy's mistress was for full run when closing on the aforementioned fractions I was talking about to finish in front of Faith and Hope in her career debut for trainer Larry Pilati. I want to go back and show you a stat on Larry Pilati over the last 2 years, 5 years, excuse me, with 2-year-olds making their 2nd career start, maiden claiming on the dirt. It's a limited sampling, but he's 3 for 14, 21%. He's in the money 50% of the time, and a $3.71 ROI. And Larry Pilati just been doing great work over the last year. So Easy Mistress I think is going to sit the trip. You used it on your ticket too.
Yeah, I also used the number 2 in here. Boxing Betty debuts for Kathleen O'Connell. You don't need to say anything more than that, at least not relative to this meet. Kathleen O'Connell's horses have been firing on all cylinders. This horse is working well. She's by Yes It's True, so I would figure she'd show some speed, but then you put Juan Leyva up. Juan's not going to send her. So if, in fact, the 2 were to get the lead, she's going to be gone.
And she's shown those, as you mentioned, a good morning work to back-to-back bullet work. So Kathleen, as you mentioned, everything she sent here has run and looked fantastic. So one you have to have on your ticket. That's a Myth. It's probably the one to beat in there, as you said. 2nd at this level, 2 back drops, dueled fade. That was 50,000, a better race.
Isn't it amazing that Kathleen O'Connell's first-time starter ROI this year is $3.25?
Yeah, and the big angle used to be throw Kathleen out her first start and you always use her in her 2nd start. Past years, not the same. They back off her and they shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
3rd race this afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf. Maiden claim is fillies and mares 3 and up, $20,000. No scratches, no jockey changes. How'd you go, Pete?
I went with the favorite. I hate the 2nd choice, who you like on top, but I went with the 2 High Sweet Candy. I'm worried that she's going to have trouble sealing the deal. I worry that she's going to be an underlay. That's why she's not a single in this race, but I do like the fact that she's taking a drop in class. She's never seen horses this cheap. She has speed. She gets aggressive rider Jesus Rios in the irons, and there's really just no speed in here. She's going to be 3 or 4 in front and not have to work at all.
Number 7, as you mentioned, I put on top my Ecliptical My Ways, making the 3rd start of her current form cycle, stretching out to 1 mile in the 16th. Rallied to finish a strong 2nd as the favorite against Similar in a 16 maiden test, going 7.5. Mike Yates, Tyler Gaffleone, you think there's no speed to help her style?
I guess I don't like her last race. I thought that that last race was was not all that tough of a field. She ran okay. I think she'll be an underlay in this race, and I'm just going to try to take a stand to beat her. The one, Miss Kitka, made both of our tickets. I think she likely stalks the pace setter High Sweet Candy, which in my mind means that she gets first run on everybody else. She made a major step forward when she tried turf in 2 turns for the first time. She did both of those things last time out, so she can continue to improve here today.
Yeah, trainer Ralph Catney, he's got Eduardo Nunez in the saddle this afternoon. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be race number 4, and that's where the Rainbow Six starts, and we'll show you my ticket.
Next January, 12 horses, $1 million buy-in for a $12 million purse. It is the world's richest race. It is the Pegasus World Cup.
Welcome back. Race number 4 this afternoon is 6 furlong allowance optional claimer 2-year-olds, or they can run for that optional claiming price of $75,000. Pete, this is where you had singled the Sonic Mule. I want to show you my ticket in here, and it is about $43.20, and it'll be picking up. And I did go try and beat this horse with a horse that made its debut, and that is the 3 horse in his race, Arrecife, I think it's pronounced, and I put that one on top, and I'll tell you why. There's my ticket, 3 and 5, 3 deep, a single in race number 7 with the number 5 horse in there, and that is Queen de Valet, who just undefeated at that 5 furlong distance, 3 and then 4 deep, $43.20. As I mentioned, I went with the 3 Arrecife. This one stepping up to face winners after a strong career debut at the distance in which he drew away on a sloppy track, and he won that race by 4 widening lengths. I thought it was a good performance. He continues to post bullet workouts in the morning, albeit it was on a sloppy track, so it's a little bit of guesswork here. But I'm going to try and beat the big favorite, and Sonic Mule is going to be odds on, odds on.
Yeah, I think so. Even money on the morning line, I think, is what number 5 Sonic Mule is. But I actually think that that's for good reason. I don't know, I'm not going to say it's a good price because it's not, but Sonic Mule came in from New Jersey last time out and tried turf for the first time, tried going on our turf course in the Armed Forces, lost to Whiskey Train. Whiskey Train was a big upsetter that day, but the course, meaning the actual surface that day, did Sonic Mule no favors at all, except for the fact that now he's cutting back to 6 furlongs and going over the main track. He should have plenty of bottom. He ran on a bog last time.
Well, let's show you a stat on just that. The 5 Sonic Mule, Todd Pletcher, over the last 5 years, 2-year-olds going turf to dirt. He's 16 for 53, 30%, 62% in the money with a positive return of investment of $2.39. So am I going nuts here trying to beat this horse this afternoon? Got the stats behind it. I mean, I'm using both on my ticket. It's not that I'm throwing Sonic Mule out on there. And then I went to the inside with the 1 Ink Inspired, who clearly does his best running on the main track. He's going to the dirt after pressing the base. He was in that Armed Forces, and he went backwards.
Throw it out.
Yeah.
Throw it out. Anybody who came out of that race, throw it out, because that course compromised a lot of horses' chances in there, which allowed a horse like Whiskey Train, who was a maiden going in, to win that race. If you had any sort of speed in that race, which the 1 and 5 both did, they were completely nullified by the course.
Yeah, so, I mean, we got the logical 2 on top, and I can understand totally you singling that horse, and they're probably going to be odds on and win, but, I thought I'd take a chance. Now let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is 3 and up, $8,000 for this race. Pete, and we talked about this a couple of minutes ago. You did not single, you put Gelfenstein on your ticket. You singled the 5, Telling Tony.
Yeah, and here's why. I wanted actually to single Gelfenstein, but the problem is that he's facing horses that get close to him. And it's not so much that they beat him. He's been very, very good form. But for me, if I'm going to take a second choice on the morning line, Gelfenstein, what is he? 2-1.
2-1.
He's actually the 2-1 morning line favorite. If I'm going to take the favorite as a single, I want him to be much the best horse. And for me, I didn't think Gelfenstein was the much the best horse. So I went with the 5, Telling Tony. He's taking a major class drop. He had a terrible trip in his last race, and he had a terrible trip in his race 2 back. He was 5 wide in both occasions. He needs to drop. Figure-wise, he fits here. Figure-wise, he's not the best horse. Gelfenstein is, but I think the class drop will suit him and see if he can get back to his winning ways. This is his 3rd start of his
Yeah, I got Telling Tony on the ticket for all the reasons you mentioned, but I keep going back and looking in this race. And Gelfenstein, not only, as you mentioned, all the good things about him being an excellent form and everything like that. He's the lone speed in this race. So that was my key there. I actually thought that he was the lone speed, and I think Telling Tony is in a perfect spot. If someone goes up and hounds Gelfenstein early, it sets up perfectly for your horse.
Well, there's going to be somebody that does that, and I knew you were going to say that he's lone speed, and I don't know that I necessarily disagree, because Gelfenstein is a horse that has no problem going 45 to the half, but Bellino on the stretch out's going to go. Every race that he ran going long, he was part of the pace. If not, he was the leader. So I'm hoping Bellino breaks and goes with Gelfenstein. The horse that you use 3rd, I use 3rd also, and I like him here at number 7, Tetradram. If you are looking for an upset-minded individual, this is the right racehorse. He's making his 2nd start back for Dane Kabisky. Dane Kabisky claimed him back. He ran just okay when making his course return here last time out. I think he'll be a little bit better today. I also think tactically he'll get a better setup. He was chasing a 25 opening quarter and had to lay close. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to have something to run at. Today will be better for him.
Yeah, and he's really a hard-knocking campaign. He's had 37 races on the turf with 7 wins, 7 seconds, 6 thirds. So he's a good horse. He needed his last. He's coming back. And I like him on the ticket, but I think the race, as far as the pace goes through the 8-horse Gelfenstein. Someone challenges her like you think. Bellino sets up for Tony. Telling Tony you had to use both on those tickets. Myself.
This is a deep race. If you don't single, you have to go so deep, which is why when I structured my ticket, I singled and then let you draw your own conclusions the rest of the way.
Well, let's go to race number 6 this afternoon. 5 1/2 furlongs, maiden claiming 2-year-olds. We do have a scratching here of the 1 Prince Huggins, and I'm mad at that because I did not like this horse today, and it was like 3-1, second choice in the morning line. And I said, I finally figured this out. And
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility in the planet that a horse that has raced already wins this race? Because I don't.
No. And I'll tell you who I went with, and this is the 4 Bryans this morning. I'll tell you why. This is a half-brother to Grade 2 Indiana Derby and Grade 3 Ohio Derby winner. East Hall, trained right here by Bill Kaplan. Solid work tab from Mike Yates, the son of Gone Astray, gets Lasix, Jose Alvarez. I just went with the breeding play in here, and as you mentioned, first-time starter. And I loved East Hall, so I'm cleaning off that and putting this one on my ticket, besides the solid morning work tab.
And oh, by the way, with the scratch of the 1, if Brian's a smarty has any early speed, which in my view Mike Yates horses tend to do, he's going to clear pretty easily. The Pletcher horse, another softball, is intriguing, but I think he's intriguing because he's going to take all the action, and I do mean all the action. And I ask you, you know better than I do in this scenario, if Todd Pletcher's running a horse for $25,000 first out, doesn't that kind of speak for itself?
Yeah, it does, and you see, they paid $50,000 for him. He's a son of Overdriven. He's working like a softball. There's no great works there. I just didn't see anything. You got to put him on the tickets because you have to respect the connections at Palm Beach Downs. Look at those works. They're just pedestrian at best. So I put him on the ticket because it is Pletcher. Here's the thing. He's only 15% with debut maiden claim. Adds Lasix, Edgar Zeiss, also adds to the appeal a little bit. With that said, I just didn't like the morning work tab. And, so we'll see. Owned by Rispoli Stables, too. So
I think you mean Repoli.
Repoli, yeah. I'm thinking of Matt. Repoli Stables, excuse me. But... he's
going to take all the money, just based on the fact that, speaking candidly, the horses who have raced have not shown any ability at all. So for me, I went with the 3 first-time starters. Gone Jack from a stable that won a race yesterday. This horse doesn't need to work fast to be a contender against this field.
Well, what about the 2? I had some interest in Party Paradise dropping to this level after encountering trouble at the start. Veered inward, stalked the pace. He was 5th. It was a $40,000 New York state-bred sprint up at Belmont. Jenna Antonucci, Tyler Gaff, Leon. I just thought with the level of competition, had an excuse at the start. Maybe this one comes back and runs and grabs a share. No, you don't think?
I don't have an opinion, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's okay. Well, we both have the 4-6 first
That's
and
my
second.
opinion. I think those are the right two horses. I'd add the 5 if you're multi-legging.
Boy, it's hard to sell you anymore. I can't convince you anymore on some of my selections. Let's go to race 7 here.
I'm trying to be nice.
5 furlongs on the turf. Allowance optional claimer. Fillies 2-year-olds are at optional claiming level of $75,000. And, we do have a jockey changing here on the 3 to Jorge Ruiz. This kid has been riding in pretty good form. And what I like about this kid, he doesn't get a leg up. He jumps on the horse himself. I've never seen it. No matter when he does it, he just jumps on the horse, which just shows his athleticism.
Is that a handicapping angle?
No, I just thought I'd throw that out there. 5 furlongs on the turf, an allowance optional claimer, as I mentioned in here. Now, the horse that I singled, Queen de Valet, I'm going to tell you why. Turning back to a distance where she's never tasted defeat. 2 starts, 2 wins. I love that angle. And that's after notching back-to-back victories, going 7.5 furlongs. Ultra consistent daughter of Baryshnikov finds an ideal spot. Stepping up, you say, oh, it's a 75 optional claimer. Who in this race ran at that level? So, it just looks like the horse jumps off the page to me. Made it my best bet of the afternoon for all those reasons.
How many times has she lost on turf?
Never. That's what I mean. So, that was it. But I want to go back, Pete. Did you have the one on top? Who did you have on top? The 7th Threat?
Well, you can get there. Don't worry.
Well, I want to go back and show you Threat's performance when it won back on June 25th, and then we can talk about June 25th. I think it was 16th. I think it was the 25th. When he was, or maybe the 25th. This was just an impressive performance. And what's impressive about it, I'm just going to pick up the stretch run. This horse broke from post 11 that day and was just beautiful. They give her one whack in the stretch to keep her on her business. But, boy, was this impressive performance. So, hasn't been seen since June 25th, but just drew off to win it very impressively. So, number 5, Queen de Valet, better be on her game.
I picked against the horse yesterday because I said it was personal. It's kind of personal, too, with number 5 for me, Queen de Valle. She made my ticket because she is going to get a great setup here. But at the same time, how many horses win 5 in a row?
Not many. You can count them on one hand because there's 5 on one hand. Let's go. The other horse I had some interest in was Richie's sister facing multiple winner Queen de Valet. This one went up and attended some blistering fractions of 20-2, 44-1, and held on to win.
Yeah, the problem is, and this is a very telling problem, and by the way, we can do some shameless self-promotion of Gulfstream Park. The problem for Richie's sister and anybody else who has any idea that they want to go to the lead here is I should say infamous, but she's getting ready to be famous, Fallen Leaf, number 2 in this race. She'll be in front. There's no doubt about that. And if you want to watch more on Fallen Leaf, we invite you to tune into ESPN Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt this evening. There'll be a story about Gulfstream Park and Fallen Leaf.
What time?
Midnight.
Set
the DVR.
Yeah, the DVR. I was going to say VCR would show you how old I am. Race number 8 this afternoon. 7 furlongs. Claim is 3 and up. Non-winners of 2, $6,250. Been wanting to see your video in here because the horse I had on top, I was reading what you wrote, said this one stopped on a dime. That's $1 million.
Well, you're not supposed to make that comment. Now you're throwing me under the proverbial bus here. Well, let's take a look at it. There's some horses that exit the same race. 1 Million, Magno, Ahemplo, and Dance of Freedom all come out of the same race. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions October 19th right here at Gulfstream Park West. Number 2, 1 Million, was the 6-5 favorite in that particular race. That's Dance of Freedom looming large on the outside, and Magno, Ahemplo coming up the inside. 1 Million had everything his own way, and then as they enter the stretch, Candy Jam runs by him, and so does everybody else. Look, he's out. There's nothing left. But the problem for me is that Magno Ahemplo, who runs up on the inside, Magno Ahemplo will end up being second in this particular race. He came back in a race that he should have won for fun and ran awful. So that makes me wonder.
1 Million ran that race with blinkers. One start with the blinkers on, taking him right off. I think that might be key for this horse to rebound in there. So 1 million on top of my ticket. You mentioned the other horses in here. Magno Exemplo, a good second at this level, 2 back. Is shortening up today to 7/8. Tracked the pace, finished the 4th, as you saw, beating only 1 1/4 lengths going that 2-turn mile.
Well, when I watched that replay, for me, I drew the conclusion that I didn't want anybody out of that race. And because I didn't want anybody out of that race, at least not on top, I'll take the 3, Professor Jack, on the major class drop, also on the extended vacation. Those are 2 two things that don't usually go together all that well. But this barn has been known to get horses ready off the layoff. The Giuseppe Idacernia, Pedro Castillo connection. I'll go with Professor Jack and hope that horse is ready.
I got him on the ticket too, but they're just not on the top part for all the reasons that you mentioned. The 9th and final race this afternoon.
Why are we going so fast? We still have 7 minutes.
The 9th and final race. 5 furlongs on the turf. Claimers 3 and up. Non-winners 2. I was trying to gauge. We were going from 8 races yesterday to 9 races today. I thought we needed more time, so it's hard to gauge what we're doing here. This is shop talk. Sorry to bother you with that. 5 furlongs on the turf. Claimers 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 life. $8,000 scratch the 2, the 12, and the 13. And that means that the number 11 horse is going to get in and run.
And the 11 horse ran third last time at 50-1. By the way, do you think anybody's going to be upset that we're getting off the TV screen early?
I don't think so. Not at all.
They're not going to party like they did in Chicago last night, but it might be close.
Speaking of that, congratulations to all the Cubs and all those Cub fans out there. I never saw so many Cub fans that there weren't the Cub fans last week. So we'll see how that works. Go Marlins. All right, race number 9. Who'd you go with?
I went with the 6, Shutter Shock. Again, a horse that's off the layoff and on the dropping class. Those are two things I usually try to beat, but the horses that have recent form, I just don't trust them. You have Monkey Money on top. This will probably be the only horse of Monty Thomas's that I don't pick on top all year.
That's for sure.
I just don't like the way this horse ran last time. He took a ton of money and had every opportunity to win and didn't. So I'm going to try to beat him because I think he'll take more money here today.
Well, let's, Shutter Shock is the one you put on top. You want to show that stretch run of his?
Yeah, let's take a look at that race. This was a $16,000 claimer, but in hindsight, it was a pretty salty group. I'm No Secret would eventually win the race, and then Zeus Odin would step up to run a lot against a lot tougher horses. Shuttershock punches between horses off the top of the turn. He was making his first start since January. Obviously, with all the layoff lines, this horse has got some problems, but the one thing he does have is ability because he can fire fresh. He's fired fresh in his last 3 races when you get down to it. He was laid up from May to January. He won. He was laid up from January to July and finished a good closing third. I just bank on the fact that he'll be ready to roll. There's a ton of speed in here. I wanted somebody from off the pace.
You know, when I looked up the stat in here, it's pretty good when Ruben Monges is a solid 22% with the 61 to 180-day layoff. So that's, what this horse is doing. So Shutter Shock on my ticket. As you mentioned, I went with Monkey Money, hoping to find just that little tad more for the stretch run. Duel throughout, finished second at this level and distance last out. You mentioned the connections. Monty Thomas, not only Monty Thomas, the trainer, who's one of his favorite trainers, his favorite rider is in the irons today, Jonathan Gonzalez. He's throwing them both under the bus.
That's true. Hey, listen, I want somebody to do me a favor. If you bet on Monkey Money last time out at 2.2 to 1, please send me an email, my name at Gulfstreampark.com, and tell me why, because I don't get it. How did he take that much money off his last race?
Well, what happens, maybe he was, they just thought he was going to run well. Dioscuri is the number 1 who I used in second. This one is dropping a notch after getting and then surrendering a 2-length lead when finishing second. That was a 10-2 lifetime claimer at the distance. Enrique Sanchez, Tyler Gaffleone will be rationing that speed this afternoon.
He's got a lot of other speed to contend with, but this is a major, major rider switch, one of many in the race. I think this is by far the best betting race on the program. I'm trying to get somebody to run by everybody, and that's not worked all that well on this turf course, but I'll go with the 8 power line. First start for Alan Iwinski down this way. He does have a couple races over this turf course, but they were both going long. He cuts back here today even further. He was at 5.5 in Maryland the last couple. His race 2 back not only would be a major contender here, I think he wins if he runs his race 2 back where he was a closing third.
Well, that's how we see this card, even though we're a couple of minutes early in here, but we can tell them about the great things that'll be happening this weekend. We got the Breeders' Cup on Friday and Saturday. We got all the amenities you need over at Gulfstream Park to watch and wager on it. And then Sunday here, we got the Claim and Crown preview, which should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you are a local racing fan, we would strongly encourage you to make sure to go to Gulfstream Park. Not that we don't want you to enjoy the racing in Miami Gardens, but you won't have access to the Breeders' Cup here. You'll have to be at Gulfstream Park to enjoy the Breeders' Cup. Of course, if you're watching on the simulcast feed, you can do both. You can watch the Breeders' Cup and you can watch us here at Gulfstream Park. Great racing action all weekend long, locally and nationally. Go 3 rules.
And what was that, tonight, ESPN midnight?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you might be in that clip, huh?
No comment.
No comment. Good luck, everybody.
What do I love about horse racing?